And for Stocky Talk episode number 3, Zach Noble Kelly and myself, Ross, the Stocky one, Stockdale. We're here to talk about MMA news, updates. Where have we been and where are we going? And
where have you been? What have you been doing?
I had decided it was about time to take a little vacation. I went to a large, thriving metropolitan area called Boise, Idaho. Actually, it's called Boise. They have shirts with like a male symbol and then the ocean because they don't want to say Boise, so it emphasized the Z sound as much as I could and pissed off the locals, but it was all in fun. Good trip. My buddy from one of my hometown buddies from all the way from elementary school moved out there for a job. I needed a vacation. I was ready for one, so I went out there and visited him and saw all the sights that Boise had to offer, which was a bunch of mountains, some really, really good steaks, and I remember most of it. Some of it I don't, but I only came back with a sprained wrist. I set the record at one of the cowboy bars, 9 seconds for riding a mechanical bull, and hurt like hell.
How long did you make it?
It was 8.5 seconds.
That was the record?
Or
the record of like the night
that we counted, it was the record. So unofficial, of course, but we'll still call that one a win.
Okay.
I also had the record for punching the punching machine. My buddy punched it and missed, so he got a whopping 0.
So it's automatic first place for you?
Correct.
So the competition was just between you and your friend?
And there was previous scores that we beat.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's out of 1,000, and I got like 783 or something. Nothing to brag about. I'm pretty sure Ronda Rousey got the same score as me. But
I think she got higher.
But my buddy got 0. So
yeah. You're talking about the ones that like the thing comes down and you.
Correct.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I think did you hit one of those on a vacation before?
A couple times, yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
I remember at Ocean City one time on the boardwalk they had one, and there was this guy that also probably had way too much to drink, and he swung on it and barely grazed it and punched the machine, almost knocked the whole thing over. Oh man, it was.
Those are fun.
Good.
If you mix intense physical exercise that's like a kind of competition, like punching or riding a mechanical bull with a lot of alcohol, it's really cheap. It's just a recipe for success every time.
Or disaster.
Both. Success for other people watching. So that was a good trip. Spent a week there. Come back and realize, it's just a whole different world, man. A whole different planet.
You glad to be back?
Yeah, it feels good to be back. I kind of get stir crazy. Like, it was nice that I didn't have to go to work, but launching episode 2 of Stocky Talk, I helped to do while I was in Boise. That was kind of fun, felt a little productive. But you ever get this feeling of, you got 6 jobs, you're working all the time, and then you do none of those for like a week? It's really weird, and you kind of feel like a piece of crap after like 3 days.
Yeah.
Like, I just was drowning in my own like cookies and beer, and this my gut reached whole new heights. But it's good to be back, feeling productive. Stocky Talk episode 3. It was nice talking to a guy on the plane. One of my new best friends, Logan. He his business partner and best friend is a guy named Ricky Steele, who was on The Ultimate Fighter before.
Sounds
the
familiar.
Karate Kid is his nickname, and he broke his foot on the show, so he is.
It was a recent season, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think his coach was either Cormier Miocic.
Oh, okay. The undefeated season.
Yeah, it was.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he trains at one of the gyms in Boise, and for the life of me, I really wanted to go and say hi and train with him, and meet my new best friend's best friend, but I had unfortunately had too many steaks and whiskeys throughout the week, and there's something to be said about altitude acclimation, and it's real, especially when you're not a marathon runner to begin with, and
you're not.
Well, I know, it's a surprise.
Yeah.
And you go out there and try and exercise, and I hiked about a third of a mile before I threw up the first day. And
literally threw up.
Like, actually was...
a third of a mile?
Yeah. And it really just made me feel humbled. I'm like, wow, I would not last very long if this was what I had to do for the next 24 hours. I would die.
What, a hike?
Yeah, well,
anything.
Physical exertion in the mountains. So I nursed my pride and my wounds for the next couple of days and tried again. And it took me about 4 or 5 days to even be a competent, walker. But I got there, So Boise was good. Now we're back. A regular scheduled program of 1 p.m. Sunday. I did miss the UFC Fight Night 138. Did you catch that?
Yeah, last night. Yeah,
oh man,
it was good, not great. Quite a few decisions, but overall it was an alright card. I mean, it was good. There was no Bellator, no. Obviously, there was a UFC. No bare knuckle. That was the week prior, which was a decent card. So yeah, it was a good card. What they had, the co-main event was Michael Johnson versus the self-proclaimed GOAT Artem Lobov.
Yeah. Artem Lobov may be the only fighter in the UFC that Ben Askren did not call out. Yeah. That has to say something. He's a scary, bad dude.
I guess.
So Michael Johnson, let me figure out. His story was he was at 155, and now he cut to 145. Is that correct?
Yeah, this was his third fight at 45.
Because at 55, he got smashed by Habib. And
he had some mix. He was like 50-50. He had some big wins at 55.
Okay.
But he also had quite a few losses, and I think he just wanted he said he wanted to change the scenery. He's not necessarily a huge 55, but
right.
He's not a small guy either. He said when the UFC called, he was like 175 pounds.
Oh, okay.
And he took it on 2 weeks' notice, cut down to, or less than 2 weeks' notice, I believe, and then cut down to 45. He missed weight by 1 pound, so he came in at 47, but nobody was really throwing shade.
Sure.
I think Artem Lobov even said he's going to get 20% of Johnson's purse. He said he's just going to give it back to him because he took it on short notice.
That's a classic move.
But Johnson won unanimous decision. Just kind of at the beginning of the fight, I would say it was kind of Artem slightly winning the first round, and then once Johnson got his timing, he just started picking him apart. I mean, Artem Lobov, he's got like a really long torso and like really short arms.
Yeah, it's a great physique.
Yeah, not for stand up fighting, and Johnson's got a pretty long reach, especially for a 45er. So he was just kind of picking them apart.
Mm-hmm.
But they were both getting there. It was a competitive fight, but it was good, not great. I would say a B-level fighter versus a
D minus.
A D minus level fighter. I mean, we all know Artem Lobov is just in the UFC because he's McGregor's punching bag. But
and groupie and
so his UFC record or his professional MMA record's like 14-15 now, like 14-15-1 or something like that. So I don't know if the UFC is going to keep him or they cut him. He really wants to fight that guy Zabirov or something like one of Khabib's.
One of the guys that jumped in the cage.
Yeah, something like that. So if that guy gets cut, it hasn't been announced yet. But if Zabirov gets cut, I would say cut Artem Lobov so they can go fight in Russia, because that's like all Artem wants to do is fight that guy.
Perfect.
But I think that guy smokes Artem. I mean, he's gonna have a rough go, depending on who he fights.
You got to give Artem credit though. If he's had 30 professional fights by now, and he's still not ready to throw in the towel.
Yeah, I mean, no one's saying he's not tough. I'm just saying he's not very skilled.
Right. Exactly.
He's definitely tough. I mean, they offered him a bunch of guys, and he said that he chose Johnson because Johnson was the toughest fight stylistically. But so yeah, props to you for being tough. But sorry, kid, you lost another one.
Back to the drawing board again. Hopefully you can reach it with your stubby arms and long torso.
Yeah, yeah. Be a backup in the next Jurassic World movie or something. But
me and Artem will be squaring off for the role. Sorry, Artem, I think I can talk a little better than you.
Probably.
You're Russian.
But then the main event, Anthony Smith versus Volkan Ozdemir. Ozdemir's ranked number 2. Anthony Smith, I think, was number 10 or 9.
Okay.
But he's had a real busy year, taking a lot of short notice fights. Just coming up.
Ozdemir, was his last fight against Daniel Cormier?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's pulled out of one or two fights due to injury. And he was supposed to fight Shogun. I know that. He pulled out for an injury, and Anthony Smith stepped up, knocked out, just started Shogun quick in the first round. And then they scheduled Volkan and Smith. But a lot of people were picking Smith to win. I was pulling for Smith, but I was thinking that Ozdemir would probably win just because I just feel like stylistically he was just a tough matchup.
And Volkan's more of a veteran. Is that true?
No, Smith actually has, I think he's got like over 40 pro fights.
Wow.
And he's younger than Volkan. But Volkan, I feel like, has legitimate one-punch knockout power.
Right.
And even though Smith is coming off like 2 huge back-to-back first-round KO wins, they were against guys that were a little shop-worn, guys that have already been through a lot of wars, already been knocked out a bunch. So I feel like they were good matchups. So Smith was getting a lot of hype, and a lot of it is well-deserved, but I felt like Ozdemir I thought he was going to catch him within 2 rounds. I mean, his nickname's No Time. It's kind of corny, but he does just starch guys quick. And it went to the 3rd round, and Smith actually came from behind and showed his heart and his savviness as a veteran, and came through and won with a rear naked choke. But the early rounds were all Ozdemir. He was picking them apart.
Yeah. So Smith beat, you said, Shogun and Rashad before?
At 205. 205. He was an 85er, bumped up to 205.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Rashad was his first fight at 205 or not. I just know that those were the last 2 fights that he had. And they were both very quick.
Right.
And both, I think, were short notice fights.
Gotcha. I think Rashad and I think Shogun in their primes
they could have put up way better of a fight. Yeah.
But
in their primes and pre-USADA, they were different.
Very much so.
Different fighters. Smith's good, and he's real savvy. He's got a lot of skills. Real good jiu-jitsu. But his main thing that I saw, he had a fight at 185. I don't think it was this year. I think it was 2017. He fought Hector Lombard.
Okay.
And Lombard was whipping his ass, and then Smith came back and knocked him out. I think in the 3rd round, like a come from behind victory.
Yeah.
But even in that fight, Smith showed he just has no cardio. Like if it gets past the 1st round, the guy's hands are. I mean, some guys fight with their hands kind of low, but his hands are low because it looks like his arms are heavy and they're filled with lactic acid. Like he just seems like he gasses really quick, and now he just beat the number 2 guy, and then with Alexander Gustafsson and John Jones fighting at the end of the year for the title, if one of those guys fall out, Smith's the guy they're going to call. And that's what he wants. But even if they don't call him and let's say he gets the winner, I think both those guys start Smith. I mean, Bones and Gustafsson both showed they have 5-round cardio, whereas by round 2, Smith is gasping for air.
Yeah, I think that the 205 weight class right now is in a very peculiar position with Daniel Cormier moving up and Rumble Johnson being a marijuana entrepreneur.
Yeah, it bums me out. Yeah. Not about that, but just that he's not fighting.
He's not fighting, yeah. I mean, good for him. The guy's husky. He's a husky bull right now.
Yeah,
240 and super jacked.
Yeah,
totally
at least
jacked.
at maybe 240 plus.
Maybe, yeah, probably more.
Yeah.
And
Soldier.
So when you had John Jones, which was legally viable to fight, and Daniel Cormier and Rumble Johnson at 205.
And Gustafsson.
Gustafsson was at a healthy 4th place in that matchup. But, arguably could crack the top 3.
Yeah.
But anybody else at 205 trying to get in that circle was like, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
But Ryan Bader back then was
Number
preaching.
5.
He was preaching that he's like, dude, I can beat these guys. I'm the best. Yada yada. And
did he ever fight any of them?
He got starched by Rumble, but he never fought DC or Jones. Or he did fight Jones. He lost to Jones. He never fought DC, but when DC was the champion, he still is now. But couple years back before Bader went to Bellator, he was clamoring for that fight.
Right.
And DC like scoffed it off, and he's like, "Oh, come on, man."
He said, "I don't want to fight Ryan Bader. It's too easy of money."
Yeah.
I believe.
Something like that.
There was a presser where Ryan Bader got up to the stage, and Daniel Cormier probably displayed his best trash talk to date at that presser.
Man,
just sort of bullied him. And in a nice way, professional, per Daniel Cormier's manner.
Yeah. But look at Bader now. He's the champ of Bellator.
He almost would do the
almost the champ.
Almost the emperor of Bellator if he beats Fedor.
If he beats Fedor, he'll be the champ.
So he's looking jacked, but again, that's just the state of the UFC at 205. You got a lot of people with some, let's just call it what it is, and they're Eastern European names. Volkov Ozdemir. I don't know what country that is, but it's probably in Europe, probably somewhere in the northern and eastern, I'm guessing, if you had to point a finger. Mm-hmm. You have the official No Tooth Tuesday mustachio question. Patrick Cummins looks like Branson from it's actually a very popular movie. Tom Hardy was the star of that. But yeah, Patrick Cummins at 205 at one point was ranked, I think, 5th. And now
if it is, that surprises me, but at the same time it doesn't. 205 is just a weak division. It's not what it used to be.
It's up and down, left and right. And Durkin fought a guy named, who was it, Kirknov, something like that. And that was, I didn't watch it. I mean,
he got smoked.
I'm a Cummins fan because he went to the same high school.
Yeah.
But I saw Kirknov crack someone's jaw with the same neck crank that Habib had on McGregor before. Like he just broke this guy's teeth. That's pretty impressive. But again, I just think that John Jones, Gustafson, it's a race to see who's going to be behind them.
Jones, Gus, DC, and then everybody else is way down here.
Agreed.
But if DC's gone and then Bones and Gus, it does give some other guys a little bit of help. It all depends on how Gus looks after the long layoff and how Jones looks after the layoff and after all the drug testing. So we'll see.
Knock on wood.
I hope it happens, man.
I do too. So, speaking of news, I mean, John Jones is back. But who's not back is Demetrious Johnson. He's not back. He's gone. He gone.
I was excited to talk about this.
This was the happiest I've been on scrolling through an Instagram feed. I think it was Friday that the rumor started, and yesterday was confirmed. But I think the rumor has it that there was... No, it's not a rumor, it's confirmed now.
Yeah, it's confirmed now.
That Demetrious Johnson, the 125-pound GOAT, the one who people had as the pound-for-pound greatest fighter, also pound-for-pound weakest pay-per-view seller, and just super technical, great guy, effectively Superman. But when you have all that power, you don't get as much love. Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't think any flyweights really got that much love other than Henry Cejudo. But, Demetrious Johnson, he's going to, ONE FC?
Yeah, one championship. I don't think it's called ONE FC anymore. Not that I know of, but I think they changed it to one. Either way, but... And
they traded him for Ben Funky Askren. And
that's your boy.
Ben Askren.
You've been talking about him forever.
Oh, my. Well, he's the reason I got Flow Wrestling account in 2008. Mm-hmm. So I could watch... So
if this happened, if Askren came to the UFC in 2008, that's the only way I would be more excited than right now. It is quite a few years too late.
Oh, but it's so good though. He held out.
It's still good.
He's still young. Still good. Youngish.
He hasn't taken any damage.
He's taken very little damage. So Ben Askren, I want to just go through the history of why I'm a fan of Ben Askren. In high school wrestling, believe it or not, I used to be, really in shape. And the whole thing was to be, skinny strong, what we called it. Ben Askren is never a bodybuilder. He doesn't really touch lifting weights. He's really, really skilled at wrestling. And what he would call... The reason his name is Funky is it's become effectively his style of wrestling to, for better or worse... let people shoot in on his legs, and then counter over the top and roll through. So it looks funky. You're like, who's winning? We don't really know. But we would all grow our hair out in high school, and I had like really long hair down to here. I could switch around. I had to wear a headband to see. Why? Because my hair's straight, not curly like his. But everyone that had curly hair grew out the fro because they wanted to be like him. He was the Hodge Trophy, I think 2-time Hodge Trophy winner. He beat Johnny Big Rig Hendricks in NCAA finals from Missouri. At that point, no one really heard of Missouri wrestling. And he was doing it without really sweating or like breathing hard or like trying really hard. He made everything look easy. He was smoother than butter. And the guy just was really confident with a fro. He did not care. He invited criticism. Okay, yeah, criticism. I'm listening. He's the Hulk Hogan of NCAA wrestling at that time. And he would tech ball people through weird tilts. You don't even know what movie he's doing because he just made him up. I believe he was from Wisconsin. Like what they did there was dairy farm and wrestle. So, country boy can survive. Good job, Ben Askren. And then the thing is, he didn't take... no one really scored points on him. He was defensive mastermind in NCAA wrestling. So he kind of translated that same sort of credo and philosophy into MMA to where in Bellator was, fact check me here, the longest reigning welterweight champion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. I forget how many title defenses, but yeah, the longest reigning Bellator 170 champ. And
then one FC or one championship, which is primarily a Japanese.
Yeah, they're based out of Asia.
And he beat up a lot of people there. I think he's still undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And he's probably been the least punched person. Everyone, ever since Khabib got the Conor McGregor ticket and beat him up, he got in the limelight of, oh wow, wrestling's really cool. Oh wow, when you don't take damage and dominate someone, that's a pleasing thing to watch. Yeah. Whereas before it wasn't really in the limelight. But Ben Askren's been doing this for forever, and he's from Wisconsin and can speak very well. So I think that the thing that Ben Askren, which is appealing to me as a fan and happy that they're trading Demetrious Johnson is, I love Demetrious Johnson too, but Ben Askren can trash talk at the same ranks of Chael Sonnen. Mm-hmm. His trash talk is family friendly for the most part. Doesn't necessarily have to rely on swearing.
It's pretty PG-13.
He's PG-13. It's like going to see a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It's very cheeky and all sarcastic, but he's just smile. Not like Deadpool, but like a normal Marvel movie. Like let's call it the Venom. Avengers. Yeah. And he's still gonna beat you up, but you have your kids to watch, and they're probably gonna like it afterwards. Buy some merch, maybe get a fro, and. His trash talk's great, but he doesn't lose. Conor McGregor's trash talk is intense and deeply personal and, very much forced. Ben Askren's is armchair quarterback trash talk, and he's right probably 99% of the time, if not all the time, and he hasn't lost. So to have not lost and be able to talk that well, like let's just say, call it what it is, Khabib's trash talk game is not his strength. His fighting game is his strength.
Yeah. But Askren's the USA version of Khabib, just bigger.
Agreed.
Welterweight.
Agreed. So that's why I'm personally excited to see him come in. But what does that mean for? So we don't really talk about Demetrious Johnson too much. What are your thoughts on DJ and what that means?
He's great. The winningest UFC champion in history.
I did not know that fact.
Yeah, I forget how many title defenses he had. Some ridiculous amount, but he's, like you said, he's got really low pay-per-view buys. Not a lot of people are jumping out of their seats to watch flyweights. They're really exciting, entertaining fights, but I don't know what they're gonna do. The fight to make would be Cejudo versus DJ rematch. Because after all those title defenses and someone dethrones him with I think it was a split decision.
It was a close fight.
Yeah, it was a close fight. Why wouldn't you do the rematch? DJ's hurt. He's injured, so why not wait till he gets better? The rumor is that Cejudo's going up to 135 to fight TJ Dillashaw. And at first I didn't really think that made sense, but now I'm also, the rumor also is that they're just going to scrap the 125 division, because DJ kind of cleared it out. Cejudo beat most of them, and the ones that he didn't beat, I think, was Benavidez. It was a close fight, but Benavidez is coming off of a loss to a guy that Cejudo already beat. So how do you do that rematch?
And John Dodson was another pretty good Demetrious Johnson fight. He's at 135.
Yeah, he's already at 35.
And Benavidez has lost to Johnson, what, 3 times? Twice?
3 times. So,
yeah.
So my guess is, if I had to guess, I would say that the UFC is going to give all the flyweights an option. You can either go up to 135, or we'll release you of your UFC contract. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. And I think that's great. I think that they should get rid of the 125 division. It's not a really deep division. It's already been cleaned out 2 and 3 times over.
I couldn't even tell you 5 people on the active UFC roster at 125. It would be tough.
Yeah, I mean,
and
Cejudo struggles to make 25.
Yeah,
he said that in the past that he's thought about moving up to 35. So,
and Cejudo, I think that the UFC would verify that he has star power potential. Why? Because he's an Olympic gold medal wrestler. And there is a large wrestling fan base that Bellator is doing a great job of pulling by signing people like Ed Ruth and Aaron Pico. Mm-hmm. And UFC is like, why would we not tap into this fan base by bringing in the Ben Askren, who is USA Wrestling national treasure? Why would we not promote Henry Cejudo, who had a large following and popularity before coming into the sport, and he's becoming a much more well-rounded fighter? I think Cejudo versus TJ Dillashaw has a more interesting makings of a good fight than Dillashaw versus Demetrious Johnson, because I feel like Demetrious Johnson is not... My personal opinion is that Dillashaw is too much for Demetrious Johnson.
You think that you think Cejudo has a better chance at beating Dillashaw than DJ does?
Yes.
Oh man, I couldn't disagree more.
Alright.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all good. It doesn't matter now.
Do you want to go into it? Oh, I can't really. It's a fancy matchup.
I think it depends on the weight. I think that if
at 35,
TJ is so much faster than everyone he fights with great angles. He's way more savvy. I think he has a lot more tools than a lot of 135ers. His cardio is amazing. But at the same time, I think DJ does everything just a tiny bit better. Maybe not the kickboxing, but then at the same time, it's hard to say that it's not. But I think that if Dillashaw went down to 25 to fight DJ, I would have picked DJ to win. But if DJ went up to 35, I would say that it would be a lot closer, but I would still maybe pick DJ to win. And TJ Dillashaw is one of my favorite fighters.
Right.
But I think TJ smokes Cejudo. I think Cejudo is an amazing wrestler, but if you come at some of these 135ers with that sideways karate stance.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
I don't know, man. I think that I think TJ smokes him. I think TJ finishes him. TKO.
I would also bet on TJ to beat both of those guys.
Yeah.
I'm biased because one of my favorite fighters was Dominic Cruz, and
I love watching.
And TJ, they had great fights together.
Mm-hmm.
And TJ smoked Garbrandt. The second time,
MMA math is crazy.
MMA math.
I think that if Cruz fought Cody again, Cruz would finish him, or if not finish him, dominate him. Agreed. For 5 rounds. I think he had a lot of injuries going into that fight.
Yeah.
I think it was just the perfect storm. Hopefully they fight again, but who knows what's going on with Cody. He hasn't fought. Since the TJ fight, and I haven't heard anything about him fighting again.
A year ago?
And before this trade with Askren and DJ, I was thinking that Cody was going to go down to 25, which I thought would have been terrible for him. But that was my guess, is that he was going to go down to 25. I thought because he lost to TJ twice.
Covered who Demetrious should fight next. Definitely, in agreement there. Talking about Ben Funky Askren, though, and who he should fight next, or who he should fight first, because it's confirmed he signed in the UFC. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I know that you have some strong opinions.
Definitely.
I've mentioned earlier in our production that he has an impeccable trash talk game. He's called out the large majority of any 170-pound contender. Hell, even
everybody. Yeah.
Some people that aren't even contenders anymore, like the Diaz brothers. He's called them out. He's called out Dana White. Dana White had him blocked on Twitter.
Still does,
I guess, as of yesterday. He's called out some of the GOATs. He's called out Anderson Silva. He's called out George St. Pierre. He's called out Jorge Masvidal, Colby. He's called out McGregor, Khabib, Till.
The whole division.
But I think that there are some fights that are better for Ben than others.
Yeah.
So who do you think he should fight next?
I think the only fight he should take for his first fight in UFC is George St. Pierre, because GSP is for multiple reasons. One, GSP, when he was like actually fighting more frequently and defending his 170 title way back in the day, Askren was doing all the same things, but for Bellator. So everyone's dream matchup at the time was GSP versus Ben Askren. Very similar to now. They're both past their prime, in my opinion, but I think it's the fight that makes the most sense. It's real similar to Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. Everyone wanted to see it when they're in their heyday. It never happened, but then they finally made it happen. I think that's what they should do. George St. Pierre has said that he's only going to fight if it helps his legacy. He's been real smart with his money. He has a ton of money saved up. He's not necessarily looking for money fights. He's looking for legacy fights. Things are going to help his name. And the one fight that he never got, that everyone wanted him to take, was the Ben Askren fight. And it wasn't his fault or Askren's fault. It was the fact that Dana White, the UFC, and Ben Askren didn't always see eye to eye. And at the time, Askren was under contract with Bellator. So it was one of them being released, signing the other. It just never worked out. So I think the fight to make for his first fight would be George St. Pierre, just to see who the GOAT is at 170 from that generation. They're both, I don't think, Askren's not going to fight Tyron Woodley because they're teammates. They trained together since they were in college, if not longer. They still train together. So I don't think that they're ever going to fight. But as far as who's the GOAT welterweight from that time period, I think you have to do that fight. And then afterwards, he could pick off all the contenders one by one. I think there's some that are tougher matchups than others, but I think they got to do the GSP fight.
See, I definitely agree with you, and I'll break down why I agree with you, because A, GSP and Ben Askren are my favorite fighters, so it's a huge personal plus for me. That'd be the greatest fight for me to win.
Yeah.
B, I consider myself to be one of the MMA fan purists that is sort of informed, has been following it for a long time, doesn't just watch it when they got the ESPN deal.
Yeah.
I'm not a casual fan, so I think it's great for the hardcore fight fans. And another reason is because this is the tune-up fight that they both need at this time. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said before, George St. Pierre is not just fighting anybody, and Ben Askren, let's face it, they have a very similar style. They would sell a ton of tickets. We would never have seen a fight like this before, where they're both welterweight GOATs with a similar style. And I think that it would just be a very, very great promotion.
Huge build-up. I mean, UFC doesn't have the rights to the clips from Bellator, but they I'm sure can get clips from his fights from one championship, and maybe some of the back and forth with him and Dana, some of the headlines. Because I think when guys get signed by Bellator, I've never seen them play Bellator clips in UFC promos.
That's a good point.
But either way, but if that fight happens and you get let's backtrack to when they were both, the Bellator champ Ben Askren and GSP was the UFC champ. We're talking like 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. Whose train were you on at that point? Were you fully in? You said they're both two of your favorite fighters, but was there one that you were like if they fought, basically, who did you think would win then, and who do you think will win now?
Okay, that question is easier for me to answer than who did I like more.
Yeah.
I think then I would have said George St. Pierre. Why? Wins then.
Okay.
Here's the reason why. It's because he seemed kind of unbeatable, and at that point in time, more so than now, I believe, the UFC was almost a monopoly on talent and money.
Yeah.
And I didn't think Bellator had nearly as many resources. So I thought, okay, Ben Askren is the JV 170-pound welterweight. However, now I don't believe that that's necessarily true anymore. And I also thought that GSP at that time had this like world beater confidence to him. Like I just didn't.
Yeah, he was a young kid.
But in the same respect, I'm not sure if we touched on this to the degree, but Ben Askren beat Johnny Big Rig Hendricks in college wrestling for the NCAA championship, like to win the Hodge Trophy, to say he was the best guy pound for pound.
Yeah.
Like Johnny Hendricks versus George St. Pierre was GSP's most controversial win.
Yeah.
I mean, I think GSP won that, but my point is then I wasn't fully bought into Ben Askren. Fast forward 7 years later, Ben Askren still didn't lose. And George St. Pierre talked a whole lot about trying to fend off brain damage. And now he's not really afraid, he doesn't want to get hit. And his fight with Michael Bisping was a war. It was a great fight, one of my favorite fights to ever watch.
He dominated. He
did. He looked amazing. But I'll say that I think Ben Askren's longevity plays in his favor now.
Ben Askren's definitely taken way less damage. George St. Pierre has faced way higher competition.
Agreed.
So I feel like it's almost an even trade-off. I think it's kind of similar to way back in the day when it was like Frank Trigg and Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes fought a lot tougher competition, but Frank Trigg was killing everybody on the lower circuit. Came to the UFC, talked a big game, similar to Askren shit talk, and then Matt Hughes demolished him.
Is that the fight where Hughes picked him up? It was almost as if it was like a partner drill.
They fought twice.
And ran him across the cage and just shoulder bombed him.
They fought twice. I think that was the second time.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, Matt Hughes was awesome.
He smoked them both times. Finished them rear naked both times, I think, in one round.
If we're talking about the welterweight goats, you have to...
Yeah, you got to pay homage to Matt Hughes. He's a legend.
The original.
But
yeah, to answer the original question, I do believe that George St. Pierre versus Ben Askren is the next fight to make. Because even if Ben Askren loses, I don't think his stock is entirely diminished.
No, it won't.
But because George St. Pierre is the 185-pound champ, and unofficially he's title got stripped, but he hasn't lost 85. And then I think the next fight to make, and this is a bit controversial.
But so hold on, before you said that back in the day, GSP beats Askren. Mm-hmm. Do you think?
No.
Who do you think wins today?
I think Askren wins 4 out of 5 rounds.
I think
it's 5 rounds.
I think GSP wins unanimous decision. If they fight now, and I think back then it'd be the same. I think it's the same fight. I think right now they're not as athletic as they used to be, but I think they're still at the same skill difference as what they were before.
Why do you think that GSP can unanimously defeat Ben Askren?
He's got more tools, and I think he's more athletic. Askren has better wrestling accolades, but I think George St. Pierre has equal to, if not better, wrestling for MMA against that level of competition. I think that George St. Pierre is good at exploiting people's weaknesses, and if he's still as athletic as he was, which he still kind of showed in the Bisping fight, I think GSP wins unanimous decision. I think if he loses any rounds, it would be 1 or 2 rounds. But I think GSP wins 4 out of 5 rounds.
So I totally respect your opinion, as always.
And I like Ben Askren. I think he beats a lot of guys in UFC. Just not George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre is the GOAT at welterweight.
I agree. He's the GOAT at welterweight. I do. Because of who he's beaten and how he's beaten them and all. His legacy's great. I have to give Ben Askren 4 rounds to 1 because I think that the probability in my mind is that Ben Askren's takedown offense and takedown defense is the highest. Mm-hmm. I think he has better take. I think that the only person that could touch his level of wrestling acumen in MMA is Khabib. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where he wins is the the controlling aspect. But I think the takedown finishing and defending, like Ben Askren to be taken down, I would be shocked. I don't know if I've ever seen him get taken down.
I don't think GSP would take him. I think it would be similar
Just
to
standing?
I think it would be similar to George St. Pierre versus Jake Shields, which was primarily all on the feet, and it was George St. Pierre versus Josh Koscheck, which was primarily on the feet. I think he's going to just stay behind his jab, use his superior athleticism, in and out movement, angles, and make it a lackluster decision win. Classic George St. Pierre style.
Classic.
My man.
Oh, Canada.
I hope that's the fight that happens. But if not, then I don't know who he fights.
Well, I'll go through the Twitter beef list and tell you who I don't want him to fight. I don't really care for him to fight Artem Lobov. Well, I think he's afraid of him. The GOAT.
Did he call him out?
He did not.
Oh, that's the only guy he didn't call out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I would like to see him fight
reasons.
Dana White. I don't think it's going to happen, though. Dana White has more business than fighting to do.
Yeah.
He did call out Jorge Masvidal, and I don't really care about that because I don't think Jorge Masvidal right now is like the guy. I just
No, yeah, he's lost some steam. If he was still on that run that he was on,
he's on a tear.
Yeah, I think we could see that, but he's coming off a pretty decent layoff. He was like filming a reality TV show in Puerto Rico or something like that the last like 6 months. So
I would tune into that. I would like to see that, but I don't know.
do you have Telemundo? I don't know what channel it was on. It was on one of those channels. He was just on a podcast talking about it. It sounded pretty cool. But I'm not going to read subtitles, man. I don't read quick enough for that.
I don't speak Spanish. I can't do it. Alright, so Jorge is off the table for me. He also called out the Diaz brothers, so don't really care to see that fight. I think
That won't happen.
In his call out, to basically quote him, he would like to fight a handicap match against both Diaz brothers at the same time with, I believe it was Nick fighting the odd rounds 1, 3, and 5, and Nate fighting 2 and 4. And he said I wouldn't lose a round.
He would smoke both of them exactly like that. He would smoke them.
I don't think the commission would allow it. But
No.
sure.
In Japan, if it was for one championship, they might.
Yeah.
Or Rising, but not the UFC. But yeah, he would kill both Diaz brothers one night.
So there's that. There's Conor McGregor. Please don't fight Conor McGregor.
No, that's
For obvious reasons. I mean,
easy money. Yeah.
Conor McGregor's trash talk is dark and sordid and just kind of malevolent. Ben Askren's trash talk is comparable to JLP's son and the Goats.
Yeah.
It's very light. It's like Avengers. It's very PG-13. Mm-hmm. He it's slapstick, but he does a great job. Sorry, slapstick.
Oh.
Like, one-liners. Maybe I mispronounced
I
that.
thought you said something else. We're good.
Well, good.
So, he caught out Darren Till.
We call it Darren Till.
I don't want to see that.
I don't wanna see
I want to see Till go up to 85.
I want to see Till go up to 85. I don't want to see Till make a run at 85. I think he's a great fighter to watch. Great. He's like 26, right? 25.
Yeah, he's younger than me. I know
He's
that.
a young buck. Put him at 80. He's a huge 70 pounder.
Yeah, I think we do good. He'll do better at 85.
He'd do great at 85. I don't want to see Anderson Silva versus Ben Askren. No. Anderson, you can just continue doing what you're doing. You're a great guy.
Yeah.
I also would love to see him fight Colby Covington.
That's a
I
good
think
fight.
that would be a fight for the ages. Colby Covington, his trash talk. Well, the lead up would be great because Colby Covington is Team America, but Ben Askren's very American himself. Let's not mistake that. But I don't think Colby Covington has what it takes to get the job done against Ben Askren. I think he may have more of the Department of Strength and Conditioning and ego than Ben. But I don't think
It'd be a good fight, though.
it'd be a good fight.
I think you do Woodley versus Colby, and then win or lose you have Askren fight GSP, Woodley, Colby. Win or lose in either fight, you have Askren fight Colby. So if Colby beats Woodley, Askren jump over everybody, fight for the belt. And if Woodley beats Colby, then have him fight, and then have like Kamaru Usman fight Woodley.
What about
If
this is a crazy thought, and he might have called him out, he might not have. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Askren.
he has a fight lined up, I think.
So it's not on the table because Wonderboy is a classic striker, and Askren is a classic wrestler. And the last time we saw a wrestler fight a striker, team wrestler won.
Oh man, yeah, Khabib and Conor. It'd be a similar matchup. I think it would go just like Khabib Conor, except Askren's more known for grinding guys out and winning via decision.
Okay. So yeah, he does a classic GSP there. So I think that it's healthy to say Georges St. Pierre versus Ben Askren next fight.
Across the board.
Across the board, both of Zach Noble, Mystic Zach, Noble Kelly, aka Mystic Zach. We predict these things. So speaking of predictions about UFC 230, we got an interesting lineup. We got the Black Beast versus DC as the headliner.
Yeah, I think DC's gonna make quick work. I like Derek Lewis, but I feel like he's just a bigger, fatter, less skilled version of Anthony Johnson with a better sense of humor. I love Derek Lewis. I love Rumble Johnson. Rumble Johnson was my favorite 205er, but yeah, DC's gonna smoke him just as bad, but probably quicker. I think DC takes him down early, first round, rear naked choke or ground and pound.
And I'm thinking pretty much the exact same thing.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna pass.
It'd be cool if Lewis won, but it ain't happening.
DC has only shown to be a better heavyweight when he can be his natural walk around weight, like 246.
Yeah,
and I mean he's a big boy. He's a healthy boy.
Yeah,
can relate to that. So the thing that DC does against heavyweights that I find astounding is completely neutralize any size advantage, like height, reach advantage. Mm-hmm. I mean, Stipe didn't look bigger than him. He walked him down. Like, what? Yeah. And when he fought against Rumble Johnson, he basically neutralized him via wrestling. And again, you're right. The same similar tools in this toolkit. I think Daniel Cormier takes him down. High crotch, like just completely freaks out Derek Lewis with wrestling. Mm-hmm. And I think he strangles him with a rear naked.
Yeah, I mean, styles make fights. Anthony Johnson is like I said, he's more athletic, has more tools, he's faster. I think he's more powerful, and Lewis is he's hilarious, he's awesome, he's funny, but DC's gonna make quick work.
And then the co-main event is what? Jacare versus Weidman?
Yeah, Jacare and Weidman. Luke Rockhold pulled out with some injuries, and now David Branch was supposed to fight Jacare. Then they bumped Jacare up. He's going to fight Chris Weidman. It's an interesting fight. I would have liked to have seen it maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but again, two old dogs. Who do you got?
I've been thinking about this one a lot. And I really like Chris Weidman. I think Chris Weidman is the embodiment in the UFC of post 9/11 New York City Rudy Giuliani.
Are you gonna say but?
But I think Chris Weidman has some crap luck lately.
Yeah, for sure.
His luck has been bad, and I think Jacare. It's very similar to. He's very similar to a Damian Maia. A bit more dangerous on his feet. I think his jiu-jitsu is no joke. Mm-hmm. I think the Brazilians have had bad luck themselves lately. They used to have many champions. Now they have, I believe the number is 0 men's champions.
Two
female champions.
Yeah.
But gotta respect the ladies out there.
No doubt.
They're doing their thing. But I think for the men's, I think Jacare's got a jiu-jitsu game that I would like to see how that works against Weidman. And I think it's going to go to the ground. Weidman's predominantly, he was an NCAA wrestler at Hofstra. Great wrestler. Let's see what happens on the ground. I just kind of see it as, I don't know, have you ever, too similar to Damian Maia. I think it's going to be a straight...
Too similar to Damian Maia. Chris Weidman beat Damian Maia.
Yeah, but Damian Maia's tinier.
I think... Alright, so you got Jacare by...
Submission, round 4.
It's a 3-round fight.
Then never. He's not going to submit him.
So you got Jacare by decision. That's what you got?
Subcision.
Subcision?
Decommission. It's either going to be a submission or decision.
I got Weidman KO within 2 rounds.
Oh my god.
I think there's glass in Jacare's chin. I think he's getting old. You know, Weidman's had tough times, but they wanted to keep him on this card for a reason.
He bounces back.
He's got 1-punch KO power in that left hook. I think he sleeps Jacare within 2 rounds.
Okay. Well, we'll agree, disagree.
Yeah,
That's
sounds
fine.
good.
That sounds good. Any other fights in that card that, I mean, I can't really tell you who else is on the card.
I mean, one other one that I'm super excited for is up-and-coming prospect Israel Adesanya versus Derek Brunson. They've had a lot of back and forth. Adesanya's got like over 100 professional kickboxing fights, and he's undefeated in MMA. So, you know, coming from a kickboxing background myself, I'm definitely, he's a tall, lanky guy.
Okay.
I'm invested in the guy.
Okay.
I like him.
Right.
But Brunson, man, he's got another 1-punch KO power type of guy. And striking for kickboxing and striking for MMA are 2 totally different things. And I think that Brunson starts really fast, and you know, he's got a lot of experience against top level guys in the UFC. So I'm interested to see how it goes. But
Cool.
I'm gonna say Adesanya by decision. But
Well,
we'll see.
no matter what, I'm tuning in. It's going to be great for social media. It's going to be an entertaining night.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lighthearted night. It's going to be exciting. Can't wait for that one. That's what, this Saturday?
Yep, November 3rd.
November 3rd.
Stoked.
And then the next fight card in 7 days afterwards is the one that I'm really excited for, and that's Art of War number 9, November 10th, Stocky Talk.
Yes, sir.
I think I know the guy headlining it.
Yep, you're talking to him. That's me.
That's you, dude. So you still have tickets, right?
Yes, holla at your boy. Gotta move these tickets. $50. Slide into my DMs. We'll meet up.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
Come out and support Spooky Nook. Or the Spooky Nook, as Christian Carr calls it. Yeah.
He works there, doesn't he?
Yeah, security
So
guard.
he's a security guard. It's very ominous. This is gonna be foreshadowing. He'll still be working then. He always works. Strictly business.
Yeah, 6 jobs.
Around the clock, he's working.
He's always doing something.
He'll be securing the fans a fun, eventful night. But we have how many people on the card from Gracie's 717? 6? 6 people.
Yep.
Was 7, then No Mercy got hurt.
Yep. Yeah, it was 7. Mike No Mercy Serrano had an injury, had to withdraw, but it's all good. Stuff happens. And but yeah, 6 of us. Got myself, Blaine Shutt, John Brennan, Josh Carr, Christian Carr, Grant Swift. So 3 amateurs, 3 pros.
2 of which are making debuts. Josh and Grant, right?
Josh is they're both making our MMA debut. They both have a handful of kickboxing fights. Grant's got like, I think, 5 kickboxing fights, and Josh has 3, I believe. Okay. And then this will be both their MMA debuts. And then Brennan's pro debut, big one for him. It's gonna be a good card.
Yeah, I can't wait for Johnny's pro debut. I think that, you know, Ed Superman Shoop, they were supposed to fight before, weren't they?
Yeah, something happened. I think Stupid Man or whatever his name is, he backed out. He got cold feet or something. I don't know.
Well,
hopefully he shows up.
Yeah, I heard he's got a new camp. That's good. I hope he shows up. You know, I just know that I've been training with John a lot lately.
Likewise.
And you know, for someone that's like 40 pounds less than me to do as much damage in jiu-jitsu to me as he does,
he's a beast, man.
He's a beast. There's a reason
I owe a lot to that guy, man. He's helped me out a lot. We've been training together for his whole MMA career and quite the majority of mine. He's been a huge help for me, and you know, I've helped him as well. I'm excited to see him make the jump to the pros. I think he's more suited for the pros as well, his style, and I think he's going to do really good.
I think
he's
so too.
Going to put Shoop away within 2 rounds.
Yeah, I
can't say how I think yet because I don't want to give too much away.
However he wants to do the
But
thing.
I think he puts him away within 2 rounds. Wouldn't be surprised if it was done in 1. No.
Yeah, I think this would be a good night for Gracie 717 all around the board.
I think
if
so.
I was a
too.
betting guy, I would put 6 wins for us.
Yeah,
That's my
I
thought.
would think so too.
Yeah, there's been some other interesting roster changes. I know Mike Bickings released the tail of the tape today, all the different fights. I know we have the Suitcase Kid Eugene Aubrey versus Jake Kazarowski. I don't know how to say his last name. It's pretty close.
Yeah, I think that's the.
That's gonna be a great fight. It's gonna be the third, not the co-main, but the
Yeah,
third.
I don't know the order, but yeah, that's the other pro fight.
Mhm.
It's me.
Blaine
It's
Shutt.
my fight, Blaine's fight, Brennan's fight, and then Jake and Eugene. That's
Yep.
the other pro. So there's.
The pro fights alone
Yeah,
are gonna be
that's
awesome.
worth the ticket admission alone. So if you guys are
Easily.
listening, you get what? I don't know how many fights there are. 10, 12.
I think it's 11.
Okay, so 10 to 12 fights.
Yeah, 10 and 12.
Those last 4 alone are worth the ticket admission. So
And then we have
man, get at me for tickets. I can't say it enough.
yeah, just do it. You're gonna look.
Yeah,
You won't
you're
regret it.
gonna- you're gonna
It's
have
gonna
a
be a lot of
blast.
fun too. I mean, as a spectator, Spooky Nook's a great place to be.
Yeah.
It's always a fun time.
It's
So
gonna be a good card, man.
So speaking of the card, though, there's been some last minute adjustments. We had an amateur fight between a debut dude who backed out against an 0-3 guy. You know, that's the tale of time. It
This
happens.
is amateur, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't really tell you who they were, but that's just, it happens in the regional scene. I totally understand and get it. I'm sure it's commonplace. But we had, in addition to the card, to combat that, which I find extremely interesting, Ben Moser versus Avery Sanchez.
Yeah.
Last name?
Yep.
Sanchez?
Yep.
Yeah, Avery. What do you think about that one? I've trained a little bit with Ben, trained a little bit with Avery. I think you trained with him more. He trained with us for a little bit, but
It's an interesting fight. I mean, what Avery's last couple fights I think are at 170. Moser's a 135er, and this is at 155. So
be in the middle, kinda.
yeah, sort of meeting in the middle. It's 2 weeks notice for both guys. I don't know if Avery was already on the card or not. Moser definitely wasn't. It's an interesting fight. I mean, I've never trained with Moser, but I have trained with Avery a couple years ago for like 5 months. I don't know. I don't know what to think, man. I think Avery went to Effort of Martial Arts and trained there for a little bit. I don't know how long, but I don't think that Moser would take this fight if he didn't, especially going up not 1 but 2 weight classes,
Sure.
to fight a guy if he didn't see something maybe in those training sessions that he thinks he can exploit.
And fight a guy who just recently fought Andre Petrosky.
Yeah,
who
who's a
was
huge guy. He fights
was he
it.
the 85-pound Art of War champion or 70-pound Art of War champion?
I don't know what he was. I know that he was the 85 Art of War champ. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
he's 85 as a pro, but I don't know what he fought Avery at. I don't
I
know.
thought it was 70 for some weird reason.
Yeah, I have no idea.
And so this is how weird MMA math is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just look at the MMA math. John Lionheart Tuxford was the heavyweight Art of War champion, who fought Andre Petrosky, who was the 85-pound Art of War champion. Andre Petrosky fought Avery,
Who's like a
who's not an Art of War
welterweight, I guess.
Who's like a 70-pounder. And Ben Moser is a 135-pound champion. So ipso facto, if Ben Moser beats Avery, then he effectively... This connection goes from 135 to heavyweight. That's insane. No other organization. Kinda. That's how the math works in my head.
Well,
Tuxford fought Petrosky. Petrosky fought Avery. Avery fought Ben.
I mean, you could link it back.
that
Yeah,
links
I don't
from
know if
35
that makes.
to
heavyweight.
265.
I guess.
That's
whatever.
like
that
double.
Tuck's weight.
That's double Ben Moser.
Yeah. So we'll see.
So that's a
Maybe
crazy fight.
Ben Moser's the GOAT. Who knows? I don't know. I think from a skill standpoint, Moser has more tools. Like I said, I've never trained with him, but just watching him fight.
I've trained with him a couple times.
Yeah, I think
we trained over in Ephrata, not in Ephrata Martial Arts, but at Lancaster BJJ. I've gotten a couple of mats. He's a good guy. The thing about Ben Moser is that he wants to grapple with me, who is much heavier. I'm a lot more pounds than Ben, and he's game. Like it was a good round. We had a few good rounds, He has a good guard. He's very long and sinewy. The opposite body frame as me, so that was kind of a fun challenge.
Yeah.
But he's just he's a very disciplined kind of guy. He does things right outside of the gym as far as proper diet and exercise. So I think he's like a 6 foot tall, 135 pounder,
something like that.
And Avery's
Avery's about similar height, but
a
lot heavier. Yeah. One thing about Avery though. That boy's got a Hawaiian coconut head and some bricks for hands. Because I've sparred that guy, and I've hit him with punches, kicks, and knees to the face that I have put guys down with in the gym. I've seen guys fall flat on their back with the same shots.
I felt it.
And
I know.
And when I hit Avery with those shots, he pressed forward and just kept swinging. So the dude can take a shot and he can throw a shot for sure.
And he has absolutely no fear. He gets on bottom mount from Andre Petrosky and just sort of flicks him off. Like he thinks.
I didn't see the fight, but I
saw the fight.
Yeah.
He was
a tough kid, man. He's almost like too tough for his own good.
Yeah.
But it's
a great addition to the card.
It's like skill and technique versus power. So
I'm so glad that they made this fight happen.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
I hope it goes down.
I'm very also excited for Josh Carr to make his amateur debut, Grant Swift to make his amateur debut.
Yep.
I think that's gonna keep the fans engaged and crazy from the first bell. And then, it's just going to be a great night of fights. We're going to have
a good card.
Noble Mystic Zach, 5-0 pro after that?
That's the plan.
Yeah. And then Blaine Shutt. It's just going to be a good night of fights. 2 weeks from now, November 10th. You've got tickets. I'll be there.
Holler at your boy.
Mike and I, we talked, and, I got the written commit to commentate as a guest, and happy to do it. And,
it's a good time, man. Commentating's fun.
I'm going to for sure give some insightful knowledge about Lancaster, be a tour guide of sorts,
and get some shout outs to the podcast too.
Stocky Talk will be on air
at least once per fight.
At least once. Subscribe, please. Like and subscribe.
Comment, share,
leave comments in the section below.
Do we gotta do?
Yeah. So that's gonna be on the next forecast. We've got our system figured out a bit more than before. We'll be doing this podcast every Sunday at 1 p.m. with hopeful publication within the next 72 hours. We're getting better. Hey.
Yeah, we hope so. We're still treading in Struggle City, but every week we're getting better, and it's going to continually grow.
That's it. Just like my stomach.